Welcome, everyone. Better Business Conversation is a series by Practice Better where we address key business topics to support our community of health and wellness practitioners. Today, we're bringing you a special episode. It's kind of a mini episode, if you will, that is going to be interview style version of Better Business Conversations. And we have the pleasure of having Charlyn here to talk to us about Instagram Reels or other short form video content as a means of building an audience as a health practitioner. So we're going to dive right in. Charlyn, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and then we'll dive into some questions.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me, Brittany. So my name is Charlyn and I'm a IBS dietitian turned business coach. And I work with dietitians and nutritionists all around the world and to help them start and grow their business. I'm all about building a business that's freedom-based, that's flexible, built around our lifestyle. So I'm really excited today to be chatting to you about how to use Instagram Reels or even just social media in general to promote your practice and attract more clients online.
All right, thanks so much. Let's kick this off. So for anyone who is using social media, like Charlyn said, as a means of marketing their business, we have fairly recently seen the introduction of short form video content start to take center stage. And however, with anything new, understandably, there's always going to be those hesitations or questions on how to begin incorporating new strategies, especially if you're not super fond of social media or you have a difficult time putting yourself in front of the camera in this way. But the fact remains that this is an incredible and approachable, even, despite our own maybe personal reservations, way of getting exposure for our businesses. So I thought it would be great to kind of set the stage. Charlyn, you're someone who has really hit the ground running when it comes to this trend of reels and short form video content. I've seen you introduce a lot of this in your own business. So can you tell us, since introducing reels as part of your marketing strategy, have you noticed any kind of notable difference in the amount of people that you're reaching each month?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been personally using Instagram for my business since 2017. And in 2020, just around July, August, that's when Instagram Reels was introduced. And it's kind of a take of TikTok, basically. And I've definitely seen that change in how my content reaches people through using short form video content like Instagram Reels. So yes, the short answer to that is absolutely. And it's not just for my account as well, because I work with dietitians and nutritionists in so many different niche. And I've certainly seen when clients are getting started, those with say less than 200 followers, their reels are reaching say 2,000-3,000 people. So it's definitely got the ability for them to get discovered, for their content to get seen by potential clients. And then I've got other dietitians who may have had a reel that went viral, reaching over 2 million people. And that's one of the catalysts that really got their account growing to over 100,000 followers now. So it's got massive potential there for you to reach new audiences.
Yeah, it's amazing the growth that can take place after it's getting picked up by the algorithm with Instagram. And, all of these different platforms, whether it's TikTok or Instagram, YouTube, all of these places that have introduced their own kind of version of the short form video content, we are seeing them pushing that out a little bit more, say, than photo posts. So it's just incentivizing people to continue on making that video content. So for our viewers to have a little bit of a benchmark, when you kind of compare your photo posts that you're still posting compared to say the reels and the video content, how do they compare? How does the reach of your reels compare to say your photos?
Yeah, good question. I took a look through my insights, and because I can only go as far as 3 months, but I'm just thinking back to when I first started using Reels. It's definitely had that big momentum in the beginning where, my Reels were reaching a lot more people. But because of how things are changing with the algorithm, Reels are still doing well, but not as well as what it was doing before. And over the last 6 months, because the platform is becoming more busy with a lot more content creators putting out reels, which is great. But what I've seen over the last 6 months is that the other style of posts, like carousels or even infographics, they're doing equally well, if not better. And that's really becoming more obvious, I would say, over the last 3 months. So I would say Reels, yes, it's great, but you also want to incorporate that as part of your bigger picture strategy as well, looking at all your other pieces of content, and it needs to be value driven. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good reminder for people to not narrow in on one specific type of content when they're using social media as a strategy to strike that balance between something like Reels and the short form videos and still having the photos and the carousels and things of that nature. So a really good reminder for people who feel like they have to do, one or the other. A nice balance is probably the right approach. Um, so a lot of when we did kind of first see short form video content, when it was first popping up on our screens, there was a lot of like music and dancing and that obvious attempt at being very captivating and entertaining. And I know that this is something that can feel, not so natural to people, and it can make them feel like it's maybe not for them to do this style of content. But for you personally, or for some of the clients that you've worked with, how do you have any tips on how to become comfortable putting yourself in front of the camera like this and including yourself in video content like Reels?
Yeah, I love this question, Brittany. I am naturally someone who resisted Instagram Reels for so long because I'm an introvert and I can spend all day on Canva creating graphics. Not that I do, but you know what I'm saying. So I love doing that. But for me to put myself in front of the camera, that's something that took time with Instagram stories. But then talking about Reels, where I could start thinking about dancing and pointing and doing all sorts of things, that is just so not me. I resisted that for so long. And in September 2020, that's when I posted my first reel. I went back to look at it the other day and I was just cringing at that because I was trying to be someone I am not. And so, one of my biggest advice here when creating content like Instagram Reels is to be true to who you are. When you're authentic, when you're letting your personality shine, that's when your audience is going to really capture the essence and feel that connection with you. But if you're looking uncomfortable, people are going to sense that. So my biggest tip there is to be genuine and authentic to who you are and create the style of content for Instagram Reels that fits your personality. So over the last few months, we've seen a lot more those talking head reels where people are just talking straight to the camera, just almost like Instagram Reels where they're sharing something of value, giving their audience something that's relevant. And that's becoming really popular as well. And I love that aspect because that's what we do for in our consults with clients. We educate, we teach, we share things with them. So if you really enjoy that aspect, then yes, do that more. Or if you like to inject humor into your content, which I love that aspect as well. I like to do that with my content. So then I do a little bit of those acting ones where it might be lip syncing or whatsoever. And again, that's another part of my personality that I want my audience to see. So find something that works for you and just go for it. And I always want to, sometimes think that I shouldn't take Instagram Reels too seriously in a sense that we don't want to come across as being too prim and proper. We just want to go with the flow, put it out there and see how your audience reacts because you never know how they'll respond to content.
Yeah, and I will say that sometimes when you're first putting yourself on camera, it does feel very unnatural. Like you said, like going back to your first reel and rewatching it, I can really relate to when I was first putting, Instagram stories up that were public for the first time, how unnatural that felt. But it's kind of like a muscle. The more you do it, the more you do get comfortable with it, and it becomes very second nature, and it does get easier. And it's so nice to demystify this potential idea that people are still holding on, that you don't have to dance, you don't have to do things that don't resonate with your personality. But if it does, great. But if not, there's so many other ways to kind of strike out into this world of short form video content.
For
And it
sure.
doesn't,
Yeah. I
yeah,
had clients who have never used Instagram before when they first start
yeah,
working with me. And I was having this conversation with another client last week, and she has been working with me for about 4 months now. And she's like, it just becomes a part of my content creation schedule. It feels more normal, and I've been practicing, and now I can comfortably just, create a piece of reel so quickly versus sitting there for half an hour putting out an infographic or carousel. So yeah, it can really work well if you know how to put it out there and make it relevant for your audience.
yeah, that's such a good point. It can be so much more dynamic, like just speaking from your level of expertise rather than having to go through the motions of also being the graphic designer and coming up with the Canva designs and all of that. So
Mm.
what is your biggest tip for someone who's, just dipping their toes in the water with Reels and they're doing this to attract more clients, get a bigger audience? What advice do you have for someone who's just kind of starting out with that goal of getting in front of new eyes?
Yeah. So I probably have two pieces of advice there, if I may share. So
Oh,
the biggest one is really thinking about who you're creating the content for. So often when you're on social media, you would have seen people saying, trends are important, jump on them quick and try and get on board. But what I think is really important is becoming really clear on who you're creating this content for and how is it relevant for them. So if you want to jump on a trend, by all means, but we got to make it relevant for our audience. Otherwise, it's going to miss the point and it's just another trend you're copying. So that's more my advice there. And the second piece is to just give yourself permission to put something out there, even though it's not perfect, right? I know a lot of us are probably guilty of, when we're recording reels, doing 10, 20 takes just to get it perfect. And that can be such a waste of time, to be honest. I've personally done that in the beginning, and I've recognized that we're not talented actresses or singers or dancers or whatsoever. We're here to provide value to our audience. So if we're missing the beat a little bit or doing things that are a little bit off, but if the content is valuable, it's good enough, then you want to put it out there for your audience because that's what they're there for at the end of the day.
yeah, I love the advice of taking imperfect action. It really does kind of inspire more action. And then, like we said, it is kind of that muscle where you will get better at it and it'll feel easier and just come more natural to you. So lastly, I know you know this, I know this too. There are so many demands as a business owner and as a practitioner. We really do wear so many hats, especially in the early days of our businesses. And video content, it might just feel a lot more daunting to what we've been accustomed to. We've gotten in the rhythm of creating the infographics or the posts. But even with that said, how do you balance the time demands of creating content for your marketing versus focusing on the aspects of your business like client care? And kind of, do you have any advice on how to create content efficiently without compromising the quality of care for your clients?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the biggest shift that I've had to make in the early stages and also help my clients to make as well is that when we run an online business, we need to have an online presence. And so Instagram becomes one of the key channels for a lot of us to promote ourselves. And of course, people use TikTok and then there's your website as well. But your followers wants to see an active account. They want to get to know you. So that's when maintaining that presence on social media is so key. And so what I teach my clients to do is to set aside time and prioritize content creation. And instead of thinking of it as an afterthought, I'll do it when I get time, I'll get to it at the end of the week when we're often most tired. And so it goes out of the window is maybe to think about setting aside time in your schedule as a consistent routine to prioritize content, maybe even blocking 3 hours or something to create content. And I'm talking about bulk creating content as well. So it's not sitting there spending 3 hours on creating 2 posts, but it's thinking ahead and going, okay, like I need one of my strategies to post 4 times a week. So I'm creating 8 pieces of content for those 2 weeks. So then you don't feel like you're constantly chasing your tail. If we're just posting on the go, thinking about on the day what we feel like and then posting, it can get very stressful. And that's when it becomes really challenging to stay on top of things. So I would say set aside time, prioritize content, and also bulk creating your content, batch creating your content for 2 weeks ahead as well. One of the challenges that I hear a lot of people talk about is that we don't know what to post. We're lost for ideas. We feel like we're constantly talking about the same thing. And that's one of the reasons why I've put together a mini course called the Ultimate Content Vault. And that gives RDs and nutritionists 6 months worth of content ideas to help prompt them to put together things that are relevant, content that are relevant for their niche market, and knowing how to create content that not only grows their account, but helps them to attract clients as well. So that's something that's available to all nutrition entrepreneurs to purchase as well from my page.
Yeah, we'll be sure to link that. Well, thank you so much, Charlyn, for sharing your insights with us. I'm always seeing your reels and your video content pop up on my Instagram feed, and they're always so fantastic. So glad that we got to have you here to answer a few questions. Where can people
Thank
connect
you.
with you further beyond, the ultimate content vault that you shared with us?
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to be here, Brittany. Thank you. So I am on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube as well as Charlyn Oy. And if you are keen on getting your hands on the Ultimate Content Vault, just head to my Instagram page, or you can also check it out on my website as well. It's just charlynoy.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Charlyn.
Thank you.